Hello there friends and welcome. For today's Pathfinder Enhanced Guide we have a very special and unique build, a Court Poet Half-Elf AZATA Dragon Rider. Court Poet is the SKALD archetype that directly enhances your spellcasting allies instead of melee. And this character will be quite versatile because of it, capable of everything really, from decent enough melee attacks while riding AIVU the Dragon Companion, together with very powerful party-wide buffs, and of course, crowd control spells too, to easily trivialize enemies, and lastly, even spell damage. Not to mention all of the nice benefits AZATA will give you, such as enormous stats, both physical and mental with up to 58 charisma too, and of course absolutely busted saving throws. Your AC won't be high, but it doesn't matter because this character won't be in danger of getting hit. So without further ado, let us get started into our AZATA Court Poet build. First, let us cover the main advantages of the Court Poet archetype, together with its special abilities. The most important one is Insightful Contemplation. This will replace your normal Inspire Rage SKALD ability. While Inspired Rage will increase the melee power of your allies, also for thrown weapons, with bonuses to attack and damage, Insightful Contemplation is better suited for spellcasters because first, unlike Inspired Rage, it doesn't prevent spellcasting. Second, it will grant you huge scaling bonuses as Morale, a very rare type of bonus, to both Intelligence and also Charisma. Sadly, no Wisdom. It doesn't need any saying the higher a spellcaster's Intelligence or Charisma, well, the more powerful their spells will be as far as difficulty class, meaning you'll have higher chances of them working on the enemy. Lastly, increasing Charisma can also work for armor class, despite the fact the song by itself has a -1 penalty to AC, which doesn't matter much. Characters that achieve enormous armor class usually do it by being unarmored and combining multiple sources of Charisma to armor class, such as Scaled Fist Monk and Nature Oracle. Of course, the higher your Charisma, the higher your AC will be as well, so your Court Poet can also help your unarmored tanks. Now, the bonuses to Intelligence and Charisma will also increase on level 8 and 16 for a total of +6 or even +12 when you consider the Ring of Triumphant Advance. Your Poet also gets the Handling the Crowd ability, which first highly increases your Persuasion by equal to half your SKALD levels, kinda like Bardic Knowledge. So a Court Poet has half their levels added to all Knowledge and Lore skill checks, together with Persuasion too, quite a powerful combo. Anyways, this will just increase your AC when close to targets by a +1. Lastly, you have the Insightful Spell ability. Whenever you cast a spell that deals hit point damage, you'll add +1 to spell damage, with increases based on every 4 levels beyond 4, for a total of +5 at 20. It can be quite handy when it comes to spells that hit the enemies multiple times per cast, such as Hellfire Ray, because each individual proc will get this +5. And the best part is, while your allies are under your Insightful Contemplation Song's effect, they will also benefit from this extra boost to spell damage, thus cementing the Court Poet's role as, well, support for spellcasters. Now, the major downside is, since you don't get the Inspired Rage ability, you also cannot pick any rage power at all, and well, some of them are quite powerful, like Animal Fury, the Beast Totem line, Lethal Stance and Lethal Accuracy, but they are mostly for melee too, instead of spellcasters. You'll also retain all of the SKALD bonus feats, which is great because it's part of what makes them so versatile. For race, you can actually go with anything you want. This build will even end up with 3 feats you can pick at the end. I've decided to go with Half-Elf. I think it fits the AZATA Mythic path we'll be picking later on, and also, thematically, a Court Poet character. Elf can also work, or anything else you want, but Half-Elf lets us pick the highly OP Kindred Raised Special Racial Heritage, which increases their starter Charisma by a further +2. No other race in the game gets an ability like this. For background, I'm afraid it's going to be the classic Street Urchin and Pickpocket. For the bonus to initiative, Skalds are already proficient with all martial weapons. They even have the ability to cast spells in medium armor too, unlike bards. So the other backgrounds won't do much. For your ability scores, Charisma will be our main stat. If you choose to go with the full-blooded elf, sadly you can't increase Charisma to the max. But it doesn't matter that much in the long run anyways. What you want is to start with 21 Charisma, all because of Kindred Raised. The main reason I'm focusing into Charisma is, well, the Court Poet's main ability is to empower your spells, right? So if you aren't casting spells, I feel it would be somewhat of a waste. Also, don't forget that Skalds and Bards gain access to the Hideous Laughter spell, the earliest out of all characters, even wizards. They already start the game with this. Hideous Laughter plus Best Jokes at Mythic level 1 makes for an extremely solid build for the whole game. As far as strength, 14 is more than enough. Trust me, it's extremely easy to increase strength through gear and most importantly size buffs. And because of all of the SKALD buffs together with AZATA powers, you'll easily be able to hit enemies as well. Wisdom can actually be dumped, so we have more leftover points. After all, your song already grants you extra will saving throws and you have high progression as a SKALD. 12 dexterity is enough, then 12 constitution, and I would go for 14 intelligence. The main reason is, well, this build has all skills as class skills. But ideally, you want to specialize into knowledge arcana and world, also lore nature for me. As far as religion, I usually have social, a cleric for that, which is why I don't bother picking it, plus we won't really have many skill points unless we are a human. Lastly, persuasion, right? Because we get double bonuses to this from our charisma and the Court Poet's special ability. I suppose you could also go with 12 intelligence, but then you won't get 4 skill points on every level, which I find a bit annoying. Now, for our level 1 feat, lingering performance is by far the way to go. This is the same for any Skald or Bard build. What this does is essentially triple your song uses. For example, before battle starts, you can just turn on Insightful Contemplation, immediately turn it off, but because of lingering performance, the effect will still linger for a while, enough to both start and finish the battle, while conserving uses. Skalds actually get a bonus spellcasting feat, and to me, spell focus and enchantment is the way to go. As I said, we get Hideous Laughter super early. Well, we aren't a Jester, we are a Court Poet, but what can I say, the spell is really fun. But ideally, you want to wait until you get the Best Jokes Mythic ability at Mythic 1, so levels 5 to 6, to start using it instead. Now, for your first level 1 spells, as always, please remember that I already have a guide for the best arcane spells in the game, and Skalds are arcane spellcasters. For now, we'll just keep it simple. Grease, always. It's just, well, the best early game spell in the game. Even if you don't have spell focus conjuration, you still have very high starter charisma, together with your Court Poet's ability that further increases it. For the second spell, I like your Light Wounds, for the early game at least. But you can already pick Hideous Laughter if you want. Even something like Sleep, although Sleep, well, it becomes useless quite fast, unlike the other options. For Deity, we'll be going with Desna, as I think it's very thematic for this build. Then Chaotic, good. I still cannot believe half-elves don't get you pick facial hair. I'm pretty sure by lore they should, right? But anyways. At level 2, I would spend just a single point in to use Magic Device. You don't really need a lot, because the rest you'll get from your super high charisma, gear, and buffs. It's just so you can also use Cleric, Divine Scrolls if needed. Just delay something like Knowledge Arcana. Now for your level 2 feat, there's a lot of ways this can go, and it's going to depend on what weapon type you want to specialize this character in. Through Combat Streak and Exotic Weapon Proficiency, for example, well, you can pick any weapon here, including Elven Curved Blade, S-Stock, Falcatas, Foshars, which are amazing. It's up to you. I'll just be going with the Gravesinger Great Axe, it's been a while, and I think it really helps a Skald when it comes to being extremely versatile. But remember, early game, until chapter 3 even, you want to use reach weapons such as Glaives and Bardicious, which you can already equip by default because of martial weapons proficiency for free. As I don't need to pick another weapon type, I'll instead go for Combat Streak, and you have two choices: Power Attack if you want higher damage early, or Improved Initiative. I would rather Power Attack because even if you don't want to turn it on early because of the penalty to AB, I still want to pick Mythic Power Attack earlier than Mythic Initiative. For another level 1 spell, well, you might as well pick Hideous Laughter now. For level 3 Heighten spell, in preparation for level 4 when we get level 2 spells. Heighten is what will eventually make Hideous Laughter scale quite wonderfully, even against late game enemies. Despite the fact Skalds only have up to level 6 spells, Don't forget Heighten can also increase the power of, let's say, Grease early on. Plus Unbreakable Heart to remove confusion on demand. At level 4 increase Charisma, also what you want to increase on all of the other levels, for as high DC as possible. Now resume progression into one of the knowledges that you delayed for Use Magic Device. For level 2 spells, Heroism is a must-have. I do realize that at level 3, Skulls get Good Hope, which outclasses Heroism because it's a party-wide version of it except better. It's just that that only comes at level 7, and I would rather have Heroism as early as level 4. Glitter Dust is the second best pick here because just like Grease, it's also amazing crowd control. For level 5, Greater Spell Focus into Enchantment. And then Blur, one of the best defensive buffs in the game. Plus Mirror Image just in case for extra defenses. For level 7 the choice is simple as always, Outflank is the must-have, and we can melee quite wonderfully as a court poet even. For an extra feat, Combat Streak, and I'd get Combat Reflexes already, because we won't really have the space for this later on. As you'll be going with the Gravesinger Great Axe or any other high critical range weapon, well, the more attacks of opportunity you can make, the better. Any other level 1 spell here, like Remove Fear. Now for your first level 3 spells, Good Hope and Haste are essential, always. Good Hope is Heroism party-wide, except it even increases the weapon damage rolls of your allies. And Haste is, well, Haste, who doesn't love it? Then you can pick Displacement, which also helps like Blur. For level 9, Lunge is the way to go, always. Reach is amazing, you want as high reach as possible. Even when riding AIVU, the Dragon Companion. Then go for Remove Curse. Together with Sense Vitals, because at this point, it's going to add a lot of sneak attack damage to you for free. For the first level 4 spells, Echolocation is a must-have, to bypass most annoying concealment sources. Freedom of Movement is another great buff, and both have very high duration, 10 minutes per level. And there's also Greater Invisibility, which you can pick now or later, it's up to you. For level 11, as always, Improved Critical into whatever weapon you picked. As I'll be going with the Gravesinger Great Axe. Great Axe is the way to go, especially because at this point you'll be at chapter 3, which means you can craft, well, Gravesinger. Now is when I would switch from Glaives and Bardicious to the actual Great Axe. Any level 1 spell, for another level 4, Greater Invisibility. For level 12, Combat Streak, and then Weapon Focus into your desired weapon, together with Dimension Door, which can help a lot during chapter 4. To access secret areas. For level 13, well, it's time we get started into our Shatter Defenses package, so first, Dazzling Display. Any level 3 spell. And as far as level 5, definitely Greater Heroism. You can actually pick Cacophonous Call Mass too, because it is an enchantment spell. It's just that demons are currently immune to Nauseated, so there isn't much of a point to it. There's Cloak of Dreams too. But anyways, the best pick to me would be Greater Dispel Magic. It's always nice to have the ability to dispel enemies as a spontaneous caster because you can do it whenever you need. Anything for level 2 spells. And your other level 5 ones also don't matter much. I would just pick Mass Cure Light Wounds. Of course you can use Mind Fog, it's just that by the time you cast it, chances are the enemy would be affected by Hideous Laughter already anyways. For level 15, Shatter Defenses at last. Just in time for all my other builds. Any level 5 spell, together with any level 4 too. Now for your first level 6 spells, Overwhelming Presence can be quite good because it will work even if the enemy saves against it. Or you can just go for Hideous Laughter Heightened to level 6. I do enjoy Maskat's Grace because clerics don't get access to this. For level 17, this is when I would go for Improved Initiative, or you can pick it as early, as level 2 instead of power attack, it's up to you. Now your 2 remaining feats, one as a bonus called Talent and the other at level 19, can actually be anything you want. You can for example pick a skill focus into Persuasion, although you already have godly amounts as a court poet anyways. Or for something simple, Cleave, so later we can pick Cleaving Finish, and well, an extra attack is an extra attack, even late game. But like I said, you can go with anything you want, and any level 3 spell too. For another level 6 one, Brilliant Inspiration. Now it is true that you could multiclass your Court Poet with something else, because your main ability, Insightful Contemplation, only scales up to level 16, I just don't see much of a point, and I wanted a pure Court Poet build for once, because it's a very unique archetype. But there's a lot of other options. I mean, you can even combine it with Lore Master, although the feat progression would be different. You don't need, for example, Dazzling Display or Weapon Focus. You can just rush for Shattered Defenses with a secret. Also get spells from other classes. For more melee power, there's always Alchemist and Vivisectionist, and Demon Slayer Ranger too. For me, I'll just keep it pure and simple, yet also very effective. Any other level 6 spell. Let's pick Waves of Ecstasy, I mean, it is still enchantment. As for 19, like I said, any feat you want. For me, it's going to be Cleaving Finish for the extra attack per round. Any 5th spell, any other spells too now. Alright, now let us cover Mythic Progression for our Court Poet AZATA Dragon Rider build. For the first Ascension, you can go with Close to the Abyss, although this will interfere with reach weapons. Bit of Fun is my preferred pick for this build because as a Skald we have a lot of skills, especially the lore and knowledge and also persuasion ones. And with this we gain a huge +3 circumstance bonus to them all. Of course, if you want an even more versatile character, you can use Close to the Heavens to have a healing ability on demand. As far as Mythic level 1, well, Best Jokes is definitely the way to go. Like I said, Skalds get Hideous Laughter even at level 1. And you can have it on all the other spell levels by just applying the heightened metamagic feat to it. And we have enough charisma to achieve high DC. For Mythic 2, we want an extra Mythic ability and abundant casting. Ideally you'd get this at Mythic 1, it's just that we have to pick Best Jokes first. Abundant casting is even more useful for bards and skalds because, as I said before, they have a lot of very powerful level 1, 2 and 3 spells. When it comes to buffing, together with the fact Hideous Laughter can be applied on all of these spell levels too. For Mythic level 3, improved abundant casting. We don't need the next one because we can only cast up to level 6 spells anyways. For Mythic 4, as always, Mythic Critical Great Axe, or whatever weapon you picked. Now for our first superpower is also very simple. Favorable Magic is the way to go. It will make Hideous Laughter with Best Jokes even better by forcing enemies to roll twice and pick the worst result, thus highly increasing the chances of them failing the save. Except this also works for spell resistance. It's really a good ability. Even spell damage too, it's quite stacked. And it's kinda crazy how Azatas get it at Mythic 4 as a permanent power, while demons have to wait until Mythic 9 and even then it has uses per day for something that only does a single part of this. That's the power of friendship for you. Speaking about friendship, life bonding friendship can also help because this character has super high charisma. In which case I would choose Precise Strike for extra ally damage, as I imagine everyone will already pick Outflank anyways. It's just that Favorable Magic is so good that there's just no comparison. For Mythic level 5, ever ready, we can't really delay it any longer. For Mythic 6, Mythic Power Attack. Now, your second superpower can go in 2 different ways. There's always Life Bonding Friendship, like I said, I just don't enjoy how this interferes with the Last Stand Mythic ability. ZP Magic is the pick here if you want spell damage, and Skalds as spontaneous casters can get Hellfire Ray for free through the Red Salamander Ring, which is, well, the best single target damage spell in the game. With ZP Magic it will hit 2 targets instead of just 1. On the other hand, you can also go for Incredible Might, mostly for the bonus to Morale, equal to your Mythic rank as attack and damage. At this point it would be 6, except because you can already get the Triumphant Advance Ring now, you'll be at Chapter 4, the bonus will then become doubled to +12 Morale to attack and damage. It's really a powerful Azata combo. Don't forget to pick the Greater Animal Aspect as a level 4 Azata spell, because this has great synergy with the Master Shapeshifter Mythic ability by virtue of being polymorph. Or you can just use Scrolls of Frightful Aspect at this point, it's up to you. And speaking about Mythic 7, well, Master Shapeshifter is the way to go, for reasons I've just explained. Remember, you can always have Naniel craft Frightful Aspect Scrolls for you when resting, even if she's not on your party. For Mythic 8, Mythic Initiative. As for the last superpower, I'd go for ZP Magic, even if our spell damage won't be the highest, right, because we aren't stacking Sorcerer Bloodlines and other boosts. Hellfire Ray is still Hellfire Ray, and having it target 2 enemies is very fun. Plus, this also works with the best Azata buff, Believe in Yourself, so that you can buff 2 allies at the same time. There's always Life Bonding too, as I've explained before. For Mythic 9 you can pick anything you want, I'll just go for Last Stand as usual, just in case, it's nice. But if you were playing on Unfair, you might consider picking it at level 1, for the main character at least. It's just that we have Reach and we also have AIVU, the Dragon Companion, to ride. This character won't really be getting hit much. As for Mythic 10, well, anything you want, including, let's say, Sorcerer's Reflex or Mythic Spell Focus Enchantment. For the last superpower, well, at this point you might as well pick Life Bonding Friendship, together with Precise Strike. But there's always Supersonic Speed too, or Marvelous Endurance for regeneration. Alright, now let's talk about gear for our AZATA Court Poet. For the amulet, Glass Amulet of Clarity is the way to go if you want to have the highest DC from mind-affecting spells like Hideous Laughter. Otherwise, you can always go with Alexis too, which results in 60 Charisma instead of 58. For armor, amusingly enough as a Skald you can cast spells even with medium armor. So there's always Chainmail of Camaraderie if you want the highest boost to attack damage. Otherwise, you can just go with Chain Shirts, early game, Breastplates too, and eventually just Haramakis as you get massive dexterity anyways. For robes, 7 Sins as always if you want the highest DC. For the belt, the last of the first humans, as the bonuses to attack and damage are amazing. For gloves, Twisted Temptation is the way to go for the increase to enchantment DC. For boots, anything really doesn't matter, I just have Ronak Sacrifice here, but you can leave that to another character. For helmets, headbands that increase charisma, you can find a +2 even at the very start of the game. Ultimately, Darkness Caress for +8 mental perfection. For glasses, Goggles of Mind Control are the best for mind-affecting spells, it's just that they are somewhat of a pain to get, because you need to do Naniel's last dungeon, the most boring part of the game. For cloaks, just resistance +6, as the AZATA cloak is not really that useful. Now for rings, Triumphant Advance is always the best, but especially for any AZATA build. Especially for a Court Poet too, because you have morale bonuses to every single one of your stats, for a total of +12, considering the double bonuses from this ring, not to mention doubling Incredible Might too, for a massive +20 to attack and damage. If you want to cast fire spells, don't forget Red Salamander too, it will work for you because after all you are a spontaneous spellcaster. With this you can achieve even Hellfire Ray on a Skald. Just remember to apply Meta Magic to it like Heightened, so it remains memorized on your spellbook even if you remove the ring. Besides that, Chaotic Fascination for another boost to enchantment DC, together with the Bracelets of Mindbreak for the same purpose. Don't forget you can also equip the Stormlord's Resolve as to give you access to free Chain Lightning, which also has amazing synergy with AZATA's ZP Magic and Favorable Magic too. This character can get, for example, 14 level 6 spell casts per rest, which is not bad at all. You can certainly use some Chain Lightnings and Hellfire Rays together with your melee attacks. Alright, now let us cover weapons and Quickslots. For weapons I went with the Gravesinger Great Axe. It is, well, simply the best weapon in the game. Plus I think it's very amusing for a poet character to be wielding a massive hulking barbarian weapon, but that's just me. Like I said, you can go with anything you want, Skald is versatile enough for that. And if you want massive Hellfire Ray damage, don't forget the Plague of Madness Quarterstaff. Just cast any cantrip 3 times before initiating battle with Hellfire Ray. Together with, of course, War Mage Quarterstaff for higher DC. Amusingly enough, because our buffs to damage and attack are so high, even if you are whacking on the enemy with a Quarterstaff, you can still do nice damage. But of course your critical range will suffer depending on what weapon you specialize in. As far as Quickslots, the classic Metamagic Rod package. First, Extend and Lesser Extend rods. After all, level 1, 2 and 3 Skald spells are extremely useful, especially Haste and Good Hope. Quick and Metamagic rods too, just the normal and the lesser version are enough, because you have Hideous Laughter up to level 6 spells. Of course, the Grandmaster's Rod for higher spell damage is better used when combined with Plague of Madness, so that you get 2 spells at the same round, both empowered and maximized, for the ultimate damage boost. The Signet is here just to increase any skill you want. I went with Persuasion, we have close to 80 despite not having gear that increases it. The Old Grimoire is also a very useful item for this build, because it directly increases the number of spells you have for level 1, 2 and 3. Per rest. And I've already explained, this just happened to be the best Skald spells anyways. Don't forget that even though you have AIVU the Dragon Companion, you can use the Triceratops statuette.
I am here all week.
To get 2 pets, right? So you have both Bismuth, the Triceratops, together with AIVU the Dragon. Well, so this was it for my Court Poet AZATA guide. If you found it useful as always, please remember to like, subscribe, and also consider becoming a channel member. I really appreciate your support. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends.